statute says, and this is 58-95, is that the Board of Sign Appeals shall have the following powers, and it shall be its duty, number one, to hear and decide appeals where it's alleged there is error in any order, requirement, decision, or interpretation made in the enforcement of this chapter. Basically, with Scott, they're alleging that Scott didn't read the ordinances correctly, and so he's not enforcing them correctly. And number two is to hear requests for variances from the literal provisions of this chapter for the erection of a new sign in instances where strict enforcement of this chapter would cause practical difficulties due to the circumstances unique to the individual sign under consideration, and grant such variance only when it is demonstrated that such action will be in keeping with the spirit and intent of the chapter. So, something unique to the building, something unique to the sign itself, aside from its content, that for some reason there's something unique in this situation where we should make a slight allowance as a departure from our normal rules.
Okay, I think I heard you mention that a portion of the new big sign would be for informational purposes. And that really caught my attention, because if we were to do this, and it was because it was for informational purposes, and I would hold we are going on the content of the sign.
And I think I don't know about that tonight, but tonight all we're doing is setting a date to hear the
appeal. Okay, I don't have any problem setting a date, but I think this is something we really should look at, because Supreme Court made this decision. So,
if I may, I have a little history with working with signboards, and the city of North Little Rock brought this up the last time we were getting a variance. And I'm happy to find that language and bring it and maybe highlight how it might apply to this instance to the November 15th hearing. But I think something that we noticed in that last hearing is that there is clarification of when a sign code applies to a graphic and artwork versus lettering and wording. So that is something that we experience with the city of North Little Rock, but that may or may not be what you're thinking.
I'm not familiar with their ordinance, but I am very familiar with the Supreme Court ruling.
And
that said it cannot be a decision, or even a variance, cannot be based on the content of the sign. And if I remember correctly, they didn't say whether it was graphic or written out in, plain language. They just said it cannot be based on the content of the sign. And that just concerns me. I'm not trying to shoot you down, but I just want to keep our town out of problems.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm sure the city attorney would agree, because she's got to answer all this stuff.
Okay.
So,
well,
but if we can check that out and see. And we had a section on informational signs too, so.
We were working on the difference between primary and secondary signs.
Right.
And we didn't use any terminology about informational signs, but we were working on primary and secondary, and it sounds like some of what is being discussed may constitute secondary signs. That said, I believe that was in part 2 of the ordinance that hasn't been finalized or adopted.
Okay.
Or put into ordinance form, actually.
I just think it's something we probably should look at just to protect ourselves.
Great.
So.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, my original question here was actually in making a decision, but so I'm going to put that off until we have the actual hearing. But it seemed like a lot of the discussion about the Supreme Court ruling seemed like we did revise our residential sign, but we didn't really get around to doing all the commercial, or maybe even any of the commercials. So.
Correct.
So I do remember a lot of discussion about the Supreme Court ruling as far as residential. So this may, whatever. But anyway, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to have a sign variance hearing on November the 15th for Splash Car Wash and Oil Change.
I've got a motion second to hold a hearing on November 15th. Is there any additional discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We will see y'all next meeting. With that, we will move on to Resolution 2021-34, authorizing the mayor to settle litigation. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2021-34, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute settlement participation forms related to nationwide opioid class action litigation and for other purposes.
Madam City Attorney?
I think mainly what I wanted you to take into consideration is the items that are attached as exhibits to the resolution. This settlement is highly recommended by the State Attorney General in her office, as well as the Municipal League. As far as the use of these funds after they are distributed, the settlement agreement limits them primarily to programs designed to prevent and address opioid addiction. So there are limited purposes, and we don't still know exactly how it's going to be distributed in the state of Arkansas. The Municipal League wants to get everything in place and start working on that legislation to determine how it's going to be distributed throughout the state. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions as far as what would Maumelle be eligible for, but they really want to see good participation in the settlement because the amount of funds the state receives is based on how many different political subdivisions participate in the settlement. So this is, by us agreeing to participate, it's going to bring more money into the state of Arkansas to be distributed.
Councilmember Gardner?
Motion to adopt resolution 2021-34.
We've got a motion to adopt 2021-34. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Resolution 2021-34 is approved. With that, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is Resolution 2021-35, amending the 2021 street fund budget. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2021-35, a resolution to amend the 2021 street fund budget.
Thank you. So, interesting fact, as we were digging around some documents and looking at some grants, we found a grant that the city had received and the city council authorized back in 2011 for a total project cost of $77,500 for sidewalks in and around Club Manor. We have spoken with and been in contact with the state. That project never went forward. Long story short, what it appears to be is they ran into some right-of-way issues, and then it just sort of got shelved and forgotten about. And I remember hearing myths of this grant that the city had. When I was city attorney, I remember hearing myths of this grant that the city had once received for Club Manor, but that couldn't go forward because of a right-of-way issue on one lot. Anyways, we've been in touch with the state. We can still use this money, but I have told that I Pinky's promised that we would have that money committed in 6 months. Now, y'all know that we have been doing the Club Manor corridor study, which is coming to a close, but is not yet ready for full presentation and sort of that public process. That said, one of the parts of that grant was some sidewalks along Club Manor, as well as a sidewalk going up to Lake Willistine. And so it kind of ran along the road there and up, and that would connect Club Manor to Lake Willistine. What I'm proposing we do is use some amount of this money to do a path that would go where that sidewalk was. So a path leading from Club Manor up to Lake Williston. And if we do that, we can use this funding for that. That said, the grant does not cover engineering services. We'd need a topographical survey. And so what I'm asking is that the council appropriate $9,750 from the street fund to begin that process. Again, this is street fund money, and I mean, if ever you can run into a grant that happens to be on something that we've been talking about, the stars align for this one. So I'll go ahead and open this up for discussion. If there is none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-35. I've got a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Before you all vote, just to be clear, this is an 80% grant, which means that we would get up to $62,000, and the city would be on the hook for what is that? $15,500. That money would be appropriated through the standard budget process is how I typically want to handle these, but because of the 6-month time frame, I just wanted to say this would cover the engineering, the topographical, and I think this is the very high end of the engineering, but I figured I'd ask for it up front. Just wanted to make that clear. If this gets approved, engineering proceeds, we would anticipate including in the budget process up to $15,000 of street fund money for that connection. Councilmember Williams?
Where exactly is the path? Where are we talking about?
It would run along, the area that we're looking at is right there by, right up beside the road. Club Manor and what's the road leading right there? I can't believe I forgot.
Is that road by Austin Family Dentistry?
Williston Drive, thank you.
Oh, okay.
So it runs, thank you. It runs behind Austin Family Dentistry, and that road looks like it's about a 100-foot road.
Yeah,
So it's
right behind the Dr. Skinner's office.
Yeah. So that's where we're looking at it going. And we're looking at something a little bit wider than sidewalks, but it would kind of be in that area offset from the street. So.
Okay.
So anyways, we had a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2021-35. Was there any additional discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item of business is the first reading of Ordinance 1051, enacting supplemental provisions of the City Code. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled Ordinance Number 1051, an ordinance adopting and enacting supplemental provisions of the City Code for the City of Maumelle, Arkansas, providing for the repeal of certain ordinances not including therein, providing for the manner of amending such code, and providing when such code and this ordinance shall become effective.
Thank you all. This is on first reading. Many of you all may recognize this. This is the standard ordinance that we pass periodically after we submit a number of ordinances to MuniCode. They codify them, but before they go into full effect in their codified form, we run this ordinance.
And Mayor, if I might, you can
You may.
access them online, and I do have paper copies.
Outstanding. Is there any discussion on this? If there is none, it'll be on second reading at the next city council meeting. Outstanding. We'll move on to mayor's comments. Okay, we're still live on YouTube. I'll move on to mayor's comments. The first item of business that I wanted to point out is the Traffic and Parking Committee in 2019 approved a stop sign at Diamond Park and White Oak Crossing. That is the area that will eventually be served by a roundabout in that area. There was concerns about stacking on Diamond Park at that point. We approved it. We tried to proceed at that time North Little Rock because 2 corners of that intersection are in Maumelle, 2 corners are in North Little Rock. after, we've been communicating an awful lot with North Little Rock's traffic engineer regarding the adaptive traffic signals and how we can get them to live up to their promise, and their potential, and that's an ongoing situation that, I think we're making minor improvements, but not near to where I'd like it to be yet. But anyways, during some of those conversations, we, readdress that stop sign issue. And North Little Rock agreed to allow those signs to go up for the last week, 5 days. We've had the stop signs up, covered in black, flags on them, some additional signs. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mike Hogan before the meeting, but I think we're also going to have some sandwich board stop signs, and then folks out there hoping to monitor it. The police department is well aware of it. Anyways, those are set to go live tomorrow morning. And so just wanted everyone to know, everyone still, all the gluttons for punishment at home watching, please be careful going through that intersection. It'll be a 4-way stop, but drive safe. That's designed to be temporary and would be removed when the roundabout is completed. And so I just wanted to make you all aware of that. The next thing is, in case anyone asked, the splash pad is officially closed for the winter and has been winterized. Wanted to remind everyone about the Veterans Day ceremony. It will be November 11th at 4 p.m. at Lake Willistine. That's not this week, but the following week. Please join us out there, 4 p.m. on Veterans Day. Y'all, another news bit is y'all may remember that we put out for bid the parking lot a while back, and the prices came in exorbitantly high. We had the engineers take a look at a few things, work out some deductive alternates. We rebid the project, had 2 bids come in this time, and with the deductive alternate fits within the budget that we have, so we'll be proceeding with that. Hopefully we can do that in as non-obstructive of a manner as possible. So wish us luck on that. Just heads up, I think those are the news things I need to advise you all on, so we'll move on to council member comments. Councilmember Gardner?
In less than 15 seconds, can you give us a roundabout update?
We had the cultural resource, you want to time me here? We had the cultural resources survey, that came back good. That was a holdup from the state. When the state came back with their reviews of it, they had more comments. Many of the comments that they had are the types of comments that we would have expected to receive on the 60% plans, not when it's nearly finished. The engineers are going back through to respond to some of those comments, and then we're seeking state approval. Just a reminder, because that's a federal grant that we're getting through MetroPlan. It's administered through the state, so we have to build it and go through that level of process. But in the end, it'll be worth it because they'll be paying for 80% of it. I'm still hopeful that we can get this thing going before the end of the year. I haven't, that was our original goal, and that was me padding on 6 weeks or so. It'll be a little bit closer if we can do that, whether, and assuming the engineers are able to successfully and adequately respond to the state's comments with appropriate responses that don't require some substantial plan revisions to meet some state code, then that's what we're hopefully looking for. A little more than 15 seconds. Councilmember Williams?
Yes, I wanted to remind everybody that on Thanksgiving Day, we are having our hometown Thanksgiving at the Senior Center like we do every year. It's not going to be like it was last year. We'll have reservations, and people will be able to come in and sit down and be served. We had a meeting, and we all discussed the probability of as many council members as possible volunteering that day to come in and serve. It's a good time to meet your people, meet your public, and let them see your face. And you don't have to be there all day. I have to be there all day, but just come in and serve for a little while and let people see your sweet faces. So that's from, I think Tina, it's 11 to 2? 1:30. 11 to 1:30, right. So not long. And we have a lot of volunteers already. It's just good for them to see us.
If you haven't been, I'd encourage you to, at the very least, stop by and say hi. It really is neat, and hopefully, especially coming out of COVID, that this will be a chance where a lot of folks are there, and it's a very community-oriented event. I'd encourage you to attend if
We'll
you can.
also continue on the tradition of the cakewalk. We're not going to have bingo, but we will have a cakewalk.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Mosley?
Yes, last Monday, we did a redistricting workshop here in the council chambers, and the mayor offered to put forth an idea of a redistricting for our wards here in Maumelle. And I think he took some, his idea was to take some variables and use that in the preparation of what, of the map his staff would prepare. And Alderman Saunders and Holt were not there, and I would like for you all to have the opportunity to go ahead and put your input in on that, so that that's in the hopper for that. I think it was primarily just asking for some rankings of some common redistricting factors. Is that correct, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. So if y'all will recall, we had, I originally proposed two different ideas. One was we get together with the redistricting task force, sort out some factors, rank those. We would then be able to get the council a general direction on the direction, general idea of what the council was looking for direction-wise. We'd be able to take that input, go back through the process, draft a map that we felt matched the council's priority. The other option was to just propose several different maps, submit them, and then go that way. Council thought that going through the priority list would be best. We held that meeting. There was a number of different priorities that were given. We passed out some worksheets. Some of the priorities that were there were expected growth, preservation of neighborhoods and communities of interest, preservation of existing ward cores, simplicities of boundaries, incumbent preservation, the qualities of population, compactness. Two council members brought up additional factors such as input from the council and keeping politics out.
I would suggest, if they're not prepared to give their three top priorities tonight, that you accept them at the next council meeting.
I'll accept anything, anytime. Hopefully, we'll have a date set for the next task force, maybe even prior to the next meeting.
Actually, that was my second comment here. Is I felt like at our last meeting, I was unsettled about that meeting. This whole process is something that I've done some more research into that, and basically the city council, here at the local level, it's the city council that's responsible for coming up with the maps, and to do so in any manner that I think we think is correct. And I think at that last meeting, there were several of us that were expecting to maybe come in to a workshop, maybe in the blue room, where we had a map and we could just all give our ideas and either come up with one or two or three possible solutions, but just a hands-on type workshop. And that's something I would like to go ahead and do. It can be done in conjunction with what you're trying to do, but I want us to have several options, and I'd like to see a plan like Mr. Tierney over there had a very good option, and what I'd like to see us do is come up with his option and modify it, or keep it the way it is, or come up with another alternative or two, and then ask the staff to put the population numbers to it and see how close they come to achieving what we're trying to do, and then tweak them. Is what I'd like to do. Is somebody else in agreement with doing something like that?
I'd always be in favor of that.
Okay.
So just a reminder of how we ended up here. I came to the council at two different council meetings seeking input and advice, didn't get a whole lot of input and advice, so I made a proposal and y'all tweak that proposal, and that's the route we're going down currently. We can take as many audibles and detours as we'd like to get there. The current plans, which you're right, this is a council decision. The current plans were to take that map, come back with a proposal that met those factors in as objective, issue-based way, so that it isn't political. Come to y'all, have the GIS tech here with a map, put it on screens, and we can call it, we can have as many hour meeting as folks want, is the path we're currently going down. And so in that meeting, we'll start, as currently scheduled, we'll start with the map that fits the council's priorities as stated by those various factors, and we can play with that and throw that whole thing away and go with it under the current track. We can change tracks as many times as everyone wants. I just wanted to be clear that the goal is not to give you a map that we can't change. It'll be to be in here with Jason and GIS, and we can start flipping numbers and everything. It's not a very quick process, but
Okay.
it's not long.
Well, I guess I am asking that we do, what I'd like to do is call a little bit of an audible here. This process has been something that's taken a while to digest, and it shouldn't be really that big a deal. I mean, we don't have a complicated situation out here in Maumelle, and I think we can just sit down and come up with a couple of maps. So either I'd propose we have like a task force meeting a week from tonight, or perhaps reserve the first 20 minutes of our budget workshop for seeing what we can come up with. Any comments on that?
I thought that we were gonna be, discussing, like about 30 minutes early before the, budget meeting at the end of the month already.
That is what someone proposed, yes. It'll take significantly longer than 30 minutes when you're flipping things it's not just an on-off switch to move those.
I wasn't trying to get the numbers. I wasn't trying to get the numbers exactly right. I'm just looking for concepts for,
Gotcha.
like Mr. Attorney had some ideas about how to shuffle some neighborhoods around to get to the numbers and that sort of thing. And that's what I wanted to focus on. And once we've come up with, did you turn your map in to anybody last time, or
Yeah,
did you keep it?
Yeah, I handed that to city staff.
Pardon me?
I did hand that to city staff.
You gave it to the city staff?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, what I'd like to do is sit down and let's take a hard look at that. I just barely glanced at it the other night. So, let's convene like for the first 30 minutes of the budget workshop, or else convene at 5:30 and then convene the budget thing at that time. Would you want to do 5:30 to do this?
I'd be favorable if other people were. I did
Okay.
make a recreation of my map because I had some people online question about it, saying there wasn't enough transparency. So I went ahead and did a recreation. You can find it on my website or on my Facebook page.
Okay.
If I may ask, Councilmember Tierney, how long did you spend working on that?
I did not spend a long time. I basically was working on it while we were talking. I had a kind of a very rough idea to start with, and then as the meeting went along, I made some adjustments, and so what I came up with was a result of what we discussed during the meetings, what I thought would meet all the criteria that everybody's asking for.
Okay.
I had an idea too, but I didn't have it mapped out like he did, so. Okay, well, I make a motion, we meet at 5:30 for our budget workshop, and we'll spend the first 30 minutes on this, and it'll be a public meeting in the Blue Room, and then we'll just immediately go into the budget after that.
I don't even know when the budget meetings are.
Oh,
The first budget meeting is at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, November 10th.
Would the city be
oh, yeah,
ready to,
November 10th.
with numbers at that point?
There's not one on the 8th. I thought we had one scheduled.
There's,
No, the budget book is scheduled to be delivered on the 8th.
that's between the mayor and his folks. That's when we have our first meeting on the 10th.
Okay, I've got a motion to hold a redistricting workshop at 5:30 p.m. on November 10th.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask you, what was your timeline on meetings for this? What did you have in mind?
We were looking at, I think we can have something, if the council's free, I was going to verify whether or not the Civil Service Commission thought they would be meeting in this room next Monday. Yeah. We'll have something this week.
We'll have
So the next available meeting time was, whenever the next available meeting time is, Tuesday, November 9th. Yeah, we'll have something this week, so anytime after this week should be good to go.
it just concerns me, I don't think 30 minutes is long enough. And 30 minutes right before a budget meeting is gonna be hard to
So why don't we do
gears.
it the 8th then? It's Monday, and just do it at 5:30 on Monday and stay for an hour, however long we need.
Well, we've got
said
a
the
Civil
Civil
Service Commission
Service
meeting
is
in
Oh.
here, and that'll be recorded. We could hold it in a different room and simply audio record it, but we wouldn't have video recording or streaming capability.
I wanted to do it in the blue room anyway, so the civil service would be in here, correct?
Yes, but
Okay.
this is all the same recording software, so we can record it by, an audio recorder, but we wouldn't be able to go live or have video.
I don't care, but I would like to get us together to where we can stand around the table and fiddle with it.
Are we having discussion on this motion yet, or
Yeah, so I had a motion and a second to hold it.
we don't have a
What's that?
second?
I'll go ahead and second it, yeah. I was waiting for us to decide what the date was gonna be.
Oh, okay. So we've got a motion and a second to hold a public, redistricting workshop at 5:30 on November 10th.
Well, this would be before the budget meeting, so.
Now, are we discussing now?
Yes,
Okay.
open.
I am totally fine with having more meetings on this. I felt like we're rushing into this just a little bit because city staff needed time to prepare it. I'm all for us getting in a room together with a map and kind of tossing out our ideas of where things move around. But until we have numbers, I think it's premature. I don't want to put a date on it and say we're going to do it, what's the date, next Tuesday?
The night.
So that's,
Next
yes,
Tuesday's the
Tuesday
9th.
At 5:30, and we have 30 minutes. Is that a budget meeting day?
The Wednesdays is the budget meeting.
Oh, so this is another meeting, okay.
So they switched it, I missed that. So it's the 9th now?
It's the 10th. The idea was to have a meeting at 5:30 to end at 6 for the budget workshop at 6.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of rushing into that, but I want us to have as many public meetings as we're comfortable with, that we want to have.
But we want some information.
I don't want to go into a meeting not knowing what we're going to be doing. So I would rather have some direction from the city first with some numbers. And I think we all kind of have some ideas of areas that we can move around to help with our individual wards. But until we can get those numbers, I feel like it's.
Here's what as I understand, you come up with the areas and then they put the numbers to it. Is that correct? I mean, what numbers can they come up with here?
We do it the opposite way, which is you start with the numbers and then you figure out the map from the numbers. So for example, if a particular ward was looking and was supposed to shrink 400 people, as you're looking at the census blocks that have or total or come close to totaling about 400 while preserving the priorities as stated by the council. You can do it the other way. It's just then you're flipping, doing the math, and then going, well, that doesn't work, and you end up going by the numbers eventually.
Well, basically, I'm looking for flexibility in concepts to be able to come up with 2 or 3 alternatives that we can look at by the end. I don't want to start with something, put the numbers to it, and say all the numbers add up. That's what we're doing. I want to have different ways of looking at this. I think there are 2 or
My impression was that's where we're headed to.
Okay.
That's what I want us to do. Have that open forum where we're contributing ideas and seeing what works.
That's exactly what he was saying,
Yeah.
that he was gonna bring those ideas to us and those different maps, for us to look at. We need something to look at.
Well,
We need a starting point.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to, is a starting
And
point.
that's what, the mayor was saying.
And I thought we had talked about the end of November for city staff. Is that right?
Well, yeah, so.
That's what
We will be done this week unless the world falls apart. I'm just, by the way, a lot of people are hitting their buttons. This is a very fluid conversation. I'm just gonna hit manual push talk. Hit your button if you wanna talk, and you're good to go.
So realistically, how long would it take? So I'm not sure exactly what product, what end result you have, just to present that to us. Any
So-
idea what that, because 30 minutes does sound tight. Would we even be able to go,
It really should
this
focus
is,
on the meeting, in my opinion, so that we
Yeah.
open-ended, we don't have to say, oh, wait, oh, we gotta stop, we gotta do finance.
yeah, because that,
We've
I
got,
mean,
you
it
know,
sounds like a
they're
lot.
waiting on us and also, we may wanna have it in here so everybody will know just what torture we're going through trying to set it up.
We can also record from the Blue Room. Some
Okay.
folks are typically in favor of holding it in here and not in the Blue Room, but whatever works best. It may actually be easier in here in this instance because the monitors are there if you're wanting to see the flips. If you're wanting a piece of paper out on a table, this would not be conducive.
This seems more public anyway, I think, people would be a little bit less likely to want to show up in the blue room.
Go ahead and hit your button if you want to talk.
Yeah, when we're in the process of just trying to come up with concepts, you know, we present concepts. You can present them, but I think there's a bunch of us would just like to have a map and a table in the middle of us, and we're saying, here's how we could do this, here's how we could do that. I want to be able to do that. This environment is not conducive to it unless we put a table right smack dab in the middle of it and go from there. So that's what I want to do.
Okay.
I think we could get there. That's what I would like to do as well. But I would like to see some direction from, I guess, our GIS first, so we know what our population
I would like
looks
to look at numbers. So
Yeah.
that way, we don't come in and waste 30 minutes saying, hey, this looks really good, and then go, oh, no, that's got me with 800 instead of 400, and it's got you with
Yeah, well,
going
then,
up instead of
then
down.
then you go tweak it, you
Yeah,
know,
but
so.
if we have the numbers with us when we meet, instead of just looking at a map, so that we actually can make progress instead of having to redo and redo if it doesn't fit. So, whenever we can do it with numbers would appeal to me a lot more than just meeting on a date
Yeah.
for 30 minutes.
So the numbers are electronic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we could, I guess you could print off a big map with all the numbers of the different census blocks.
What do they look like? What do census blocks look like? Is it,
In a grid city where there's lots of streets like this and lots of streets like this, a census block is a block. It is a geographical area, and this is not the formal definition, it's a geographical area completely contained by easily delineated lines such as streets. So that works great in a grid system. Census blocks get really wonky in a heavily cul-de-sac. So the easiest way to think about it is walk down the street and walk as far as you can, you know, before you circle back to that location. So some census blocks have 20 people. Some census blocks have hundreds of people. We can go in and split census blocks along geographical notable items such as a creek, a river that wasn't broken up by that census block. We then take that census block, you count the homes in each district, you know, so if there's 100 homes and you're drawing a line here to get the 60 there and 40 there, you're reducing that census block number by a certain amount, right? So we can get numbers, but I don't know that y'all, I don't know that y'all know what you're,
No,
what it
I'm
looks
asking
like on
for-
our end, and so what you're asking may seem to
That's-
make sense,
Mr.
but
Mayor,
it's not as simple without the maps to make those changes in.
I understand. I'm
Okay.
just saying, I see no point in meeting and looking at maps if we can't plug the numbers. So, if we need to wait until later.
Well, we've got all the numbers now.
I understand, but if we meet,
Yeah.
let's meet where we can actually move numbers, not just look at a piece of paper. That was my point.
Okay. And we could do, there's no reason we couldn't do both.
What is the product that you were wanting to present us at the next deal?
So-
Were you a proposed new ward deal, or just some number blocks?
The launching off ground, the map that represented the criteria in the ranking that the city council gave. So for example, expected growth received 5 votes from the 6 council members that were here. When weighted, because y'all did them 1 through 3, when weighted, it had a score of weighted 10. And so how do we address that priority? Well, we went in, we took all the census blocks, we found the neighborhoods that we expect to develop. We counted those homes up. We're using the number of 2.7 per home. So we anticipate that the areas that we anticipate growing over the next decade are a certain amount. We took each of those by ward, and I wrote this down earlier. So we took the number of units anticipated per ward, added the units built from early 2020 until now, multiplied that number by 2.7 to get the anticipated population growth for that ward, keeping in mind that we were only looking at areas that had maybe received plats or have seen plans, because you don't know how many homes are going to be in a particular area. We then averaged the ward growth for each of those 4 wards, calculated the differences of the wards from the mean, and then the difference of that number from 4,813, which is the exact, if every ward were the exact same size, to come up with an ideal amount, since the most important factor that the council gave was preparing for anticipated growth. That means that Ward 4 or Ward 1 would have 4,626 population. It needs to reduce 476 from its current area. Ward 2 would be 4,908, needs to reduce 725 from its current area. Ward 3 would be 4,869, needs to reduce 455 from its current area. Ward 4 would need to be 4,848, needing to add 746 to the current area. Pardon me, Ward 3 grows 455, not reduces. So that's what we did for factor number 1. Factor number 2, that everyone said came in with 3 total votes. A weighted score of 8 was preservation of neighborhoods and communities of interest. We then went to GIS, went through every subdivision in the city, tried to group them into communities of interest. We've then done that, and so the next item on the list is the rank score for the next 2 items was preservation of existing cores and simplicity of boundaries. We had 3 votes for each of those 2, each receiving a weighted score of 6. And so then that begins the next step of the process in there. The goal then was to have the proposal that met with the council's criteria the best objectively, bring that to y'all, use it as a launching ground to begin discussion.
Okay, so you're going to bring a proposed ward map to this first meeting?
I don't even know to call it proposed. It would be the map that best fits the criteria and factors stated by the city council.
All right. Well, I would like to develop some alternative things just based on the input of the aldermen getting in a room together, as opposed to taking off from whatever this comes up with, okay? Am I making myself clear?
No, sir.
Okay. You're going to come in with a proposed map, and it's going to be the only choice we have.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. That'll be the launching ground whereby you can go through everything that you're wanting to do there, but knowing that that was the map that met the objective factors that the council presented.
Again, I'd like to get us together just to brainstorm over a map, and whoever wants to come can come. And I've got a motion, I think, right now to do it before the budget workshop.
Yes, sir.
To where we just brainstorm over a map and start with Mr. Tierney's and go from there. I'd like to approach this from a different standpoint, okay?
May I ask why?
Just because it shouldn't be that hard. It ought to be we ought to be able to just get around a table and do it. It's the council's responsibility to do this. It's not, the mayor does not have to be involved in this. We don't have to do some high-tech approach to this, I don't think. I think it can just be done with us in a room.
I guess what I was looking at, and again, nothing that you're saying is inconsistent with what's being proposed. I did have one council member that recommended that we keep politics out.
Yes.
And so in keeping with that council member's request, it seems like an objective criteria based on factors that are objectively stated in an open meeting, in the most public venue is the way that it ought to go. That said, completely agreed is the council's decision. There's a motion on the floor and a second to hold a public hearing or a redistricting workshop on Wednesday, November 10th at 5:30 p.m.
So again, any idea, going back to just to present said map, your product, how long would it, any idea, just, this is it, how long would that take? 'Cause if we're talking all these numbers, I mean,
Well,
this,
just to look at it? I mean, so I can say, here's the map, and that would take 5 seconds. Yes, sir.
all right, I don't know what can be accomplished in 30 minutes, and I don't.
I agree.
That's the.
I don't think that's.
I mean, Rita has to be one if we do it prior to a big meeting, but there's,
Well,
I don't know.
But I also don't think it would hurt, right? I don't know that it would hurt. I don't know that it'd be productive, but to be fair, I don't know that it would.
Can we vote on the motion?
Yes.
We have a motion, can we vote?
Is there any additional discussion on the motion to hold what's that?
Right now, we don't know what we don't know.
Please remember,
Yeah, see, right now, we don't know what we don't know. I mean, this could be something we could get in there and, snap it together in an instant, or it could be something, okay, now we've got to consider these other things. That'll give us a starting point, and we'll come back later. So, until we actually, get going, we don't need to necessarily set a big block of time to find out, we can figure it out in a few minutes, or we need to do more study on it. We just got to be a starting point and go from there. If we needed a longer meeting at another time, then we can set it up. But basically, let's just get it started and, see where we're at.
any additional discussion on the motion?
yeah. I'd like to have your ideas incorporated in a proposed deal also with numbers on it. So that's what I would like to see done. I'd like to have us with more than one choice or more than one starting point. Again, I think we're making a big deal out of this.
It might, yeah, it might. You don't know.
Thank you. Any additional discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor of holding a redistricting meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 10th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes?
Councilmember Saunders?
Yes.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Barton?
No.
Councilmember Williams? No. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes.
Councilmember Shan?
No.
Councilmember Holt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes is when we will have a meeting at 5:30 on Wednesday
And budget meetings at 6.
at 6.
Thank you.
All right, any additional council member comments? Seeing none, Madam City Attorney,
No comments.
Madam City Clerk.
Super quick, the winter, the Arkansas Municipal League Winter Conference has opened their registration. If any of you guys want me to register for you, it's January 19th through the 21st. If you know tonight, raise your hand. Is it virtual? No, you know tonight? Okay. You have the option of attending virtual or in person. There is a fee, so you guys make sure you can actually attend so we don't spend money and not go. The dates are the 19th through the 21st. And you have the option of attending virtually or attending in person. The cost is the same, whichever you choose. So currently, I have Councilmember Shin, Attorney Krebs, myself, and the deputy, and Councilmember Williams and Gardner. And so if the rest of you need to check your schedules and shoot me an email, that's fine. I just want you guys to know that we do have this opportunity. We hadn't had it in a couple years to attend in person, and I anticipate a pretty large turnout, so, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion second. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
All that Thanksgiving.